today's webinar is what your colleagues already know about SEO. And my name is Mike Garcia. I am iMatrix Marketing Manager. And today we're going to go ahead and cover a few things on how you can find out what your colleagues already know about SEO that you just might not. So private practice owners throughout North America are really seeing stellar results from their implementation of iMatrix's online marketing strategies. They've seen a lot of great success with some of the things that we can do, some things that we can provide, and in this webinar you'll go ahead and learn leading edge SEO tips as well as some techniques that are going to go ahead and help your practice flourish. So get ready to go ahead and see what your colleagues are really buzzing about. If you kind of wonder why your colleagues are having success in these areas and you're not quite sure why you aren't, this is probably the reason why, and I'm going to go over some of these key tips that are really going to be helpful. Not only in my own personal experience have I actually done SEO, I've Google certified as well for PPC advertising, so I'm very traversed in the SEO knowledge and SEM knowledge out there. And again, a lot of these tips are fairly older tips that are still really good, but there are some great tips for some of the newer best practices that are out there, along with some of the new Google algorithm updates that we're going to go ahead and showcase here on what you can do to kind of prepare yourself as well as kind of take care of your site or your practice if you feel like it is being penalized in a negative way from these updates. So again, we're going to go ahead and talk about a few things here. What SEO entails, the infamous Google updates. A lot of people actually have questions about those and wonder, how often does Google update? What is in the Google update? Common SEO mistakes is another one, as well as some things that you can do to try to prevent those mistakes. Why having a mobile-friendly website is a must. That nowadays, today's day and age, it's a definite must. Everyone's on the go. Everyone has a mobile device, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's a tablet. People are on the go, in the car, via walking on the street, whatever it may be. They're always going to be on the go. They're not always going to be on a desktop computer or at home. So you want to make sure your mobile-friendly website is good to go and that it is responsive to handle these updates. Next is the role of quality content in SEO. Again, the key term here is that content is king. It's always going to be king. You don't want to search for a doctor, or let's just kind of go outside the scope, search for a car mechanic for your car. Let's say your car isn't working well, and you're searching for something, and you're actually looking, at different, I guess you can say, conditions that your car has, problems, things that you hear like a fan belt is missing or whatever it may be. So you start typing these things in, and let's say it pulls up a flower shop. That's not going to make any sense to you, and there's no relevancy there whatsoever. So the SEO portion of that is going to be the content. In order for a site to be pulled up properly, in order for a business to be pulled up properly, the content needs to be there, and it needs to be relevant enough to what people are actually going to be searching for. So that's why content is king. So we'll go a little more in depth on that as well. Next, why SEO is vital to the success of your practice. A lot of people just kind of think it's a fad, it's a trend. SEO is big-time business. I mean, it's a big market out there for search engine optimization, and you want to make sure that you're not left in the dust where your competition is actually SEO optimized and you're not. Think of it this way. It's no longer the yellow pages. It's no longer the white pages. None of that. People need to actually kind of follow along best practices to keep up to date with these Google algorithms, so that when they search for someone, they're pulling you up first, or they're pulling you on the first page. Because keep in mind, you're not the only practice out there that does this. Other practices out there do the same exact thing. So it is a race. You need to make sure that you're keeping up. Now, it might not always be about winning, but it is about making sure that you're not last and at the end of the pack. So as long as you can keep up with everyone, then it gives you a better chance of strategizing your next move so that you can come on top. And then last but not least, how to maximize your SEO. So, you want to make sure that if you are doing SEO, if you do have some kind of strategy happening with your website, with your practice, that you're maximizing it to its best potential. You want to work smarter and not harder. So again, that goes along with making sure to tweak certain things with your SEO, with your content, with your images, with your website overall, and making it so that it's easier to facilitate that info to people so they can find you a lot easier on their end, and then essentially get to your practice and you guys could build a relationship that way. So let's go ahead and talk about what SEO entails. So every so often, search engines crawl websites in order to index them. So when someone says they're crawling the website, there's bots that go out and they basically search for different websites. They kind of see if it's relevant to that particular topic or theme or whatnot, and then they essentially put it into this index system. Think of it like a library. And so what it does is every time it does an update, every time it goes and re-indexes, it kind of refreshes the search results, and it basically sees if this website is still relevant to the terms it's trying to pull up for. That's kind of search engine 101. The Google search engine crawls the websites based on its search algorithm. It ranks the website, ranks the web pages, and basically puts it into those result pages. The algorithm pretty much takes many factors into account when ranking these sites. It takes probably more than a couple hundred factors, to be honest. And a lot of people wonder, well, how often does Google update their algorithm? Well, if you kind of wonder why it's so hard and why it's actually a full-time job to do SEO, and it's not something you can just set and forget, because Google actually, as of last year, I think they updated their algorithm close to 400 or 500 times. That's more than once a day. I mean, if you think about it, how often they have to constantly be ahead of the curve because of people out there that try to break the system or actually try to play against the system, you know, and play the game to where they can kind of, you know, trick Google and their algorithm so they can come up out on top. Google has to kind of be on top of that. They have to actually be 1 step or 2 steps or even 5 steps ahead. So they have to constantly change it, making little tweaks here and there. Nobody knows what Google's algorithm is for that specific reason, so that no one can cheat their way to the top. So that's why it's one of those things you have to constantly kind of be at and constantly have some kind of time set aside to be able to update these pages and get new content and, you know, making sure the layout's mobile responsive, video, all these different things that are pretty much involved in, you know, search engine 101. Sorry. Another thing that you need to kind of take a look at is, you know, is your HTML coding set up properly on the back end? That way when the search engine reads and crawls your page, it's not too difficult for it to read it. So with all these little factors in it, you need to kind of consider that. Now, if you aren't too sure, and just for instance, if you happen to be an iMatrix client, all that, you don't have to worry about anything. So that actually comes standard with all of our websites. All the back-end coding is all HTML friendly, making sure everything is good to go SEO-wise so that right out of the box, you're not put in debt, or SEO debt, as I should say. You're actually put into a good position and a good place so that we can just point you in the direction that you need to go. And if you really want to head that direction, we'll either help you out along the way or we'll do it for you. So another thing, again, that you want to make sure and do is not have black hat tactics. So the difference between white hat versus black hat is something a lot of people just don't really understand. Think of white hat SEO practices as using optimization strategies that keep the human audience in mind, as opposed to using black hat tactics, which try to trick, maybe outsmart those search engines and the rules and the algorithms that they have. And that's kind of one reason why Google is trying to change the algorithm so much, is because people use black hat tactics a lot. I'm going to give you a prime example of a black hat tactic. So this is an old tactic, which I'm sure some people probably still use, but because the algorithms changed so much, it's almost irrelevant. But what they used to do in the past was when keywords were a big thing, not as much as they are now, or it's not really as relevant now as it was back then, but when they were a huge thing and all it was about was keywords, people would actually trick the search engines by just stuffing the website with keywords. So for instance, if I was a flower shop owner, right, and someone wants to search for flowers in San Diego, I would not only have that in the content, but I would also have that, you know, somewhere in the images or whatnot, but I would also, if I was trying to use black hat tactics, I would have it every place I could think of. Every paragraph would have it probably 5 or 6 times. Every page would have it, you know, 5 or 6 times. And then to be on top of that, there would be something called, I believe they call it text cloaking or whatnot, where you put, let's say, you know, you have a white background on your website, you put white text on the white background so you can't actually see it. So aesthetically it's pleasing, but when the search engines crawl it, there's nothing but tons of different variations and ways to say, you know, flowers in San Diego or San Diego flowers or whatnot. So all these black hat tactics are very bad because nowadays you'll be penalized and you'll actually have your website ranked down from the search engine results page, or they might actually just blacklist you altogether. So white hat tactics are the best way to go. And again, the easiest way to do that is really by just not doing black hat tactics. It's not like there's a way to do white hat tactics to help increase it. It's really just don't do the black hat stuff. So it's kind of like, you know, eating nutritionally, you know, making sure that, you know, there are certain foods that you can eat that are really good for you. But to be honest, the best thing is just don't eat the stuff that's bad for you. Because no matter how much good stuff you eat, if you eat more bad stuff, I mean, it's just going to be a wash or it's just not going to matter. So same thing happens with SEO when it comes to white hat and black hat. Now, some of the white hat tactics, just to come on a finer point on that, you know, are typical things like making sure that the content sounds relevant to what you're being searched for, making sure it sounds human in nature and not too robotic, not overly stuffed with keywords. It's really just kind of the opposite of the black hat stuff. Just make sure you don't do too much of it, and you should be good to go when it comes to any white hat tactics. Now, as far as PPC results as well, those are things that you need to make sure that you incorporate these things in as well. They really kind of go heavy on the keywords with PPC because essentially is what PPC is for. People want to be able to search for you based on some of these terms, so you want to make sure that that is relevant to that ad itself. You don't want to have an ad show something that someone's going to click on and then they go to a landing page that is completely different. It's almost like a bait and switch. Now, another update that there was called Pirate. Now, Pirate update was released around October 2014. That really kind of targeted piracy websites, so that's something that didn't affect too many businesses, but that is an update that they did release out there. There is a big update called Penguin that they actually released in October of 2014 as well, that really targeted those spammy linking sites that had a lot of spammy links on them. Again, that's something you don't want to do. If you want to have links to other sites or maybe links to a colleague's site, make sure that they're linking back to you. Make sure that it's someone that is going to be able to kind of share that link juice, is what they call it, back between you and their business. Because what happens is it shows them as being a referral and vice versa. You don't want to link to, WebMD or, any other website that's got information about certain symptoms and conditions and things like that, because they're going to your website for you to be the authority on that. So that actually gives you the opportunity to put those conditions and symptoms and whatnot on your website so that you can start building that content library and building your SEO on your business. A recent update actually that happened not too long ago was actually called Pigeon. Now, I know a lot of people wonder where did they come up with these names, but it's Google, and that's kind of what they do. So they came up with this update in 2014 in December, and it really kind of helped enhance search results that are closely tied to the user's location. So for instance, let's say the user searching for the term pizza, now going to get results based on a local pizza restaurant before seeing a result for a restaurant that's maybe in another state or in another city. So that's also important for having a mobile responsive site, because if you're on the go, the next thing you want to do is find a business that's closest to you. So what happens when someone's hungry and they go on Yelp and they search for restaurants? They want to find restaurants that are in the area. The same thing happens when they're looking for your business. They don't want to go too far, so it's going to pull up results based off of that. And the last but not least was a update that actually is really kind of incorporated within a lot of this optimization for mobile responsiveness, to really geared towards how people talk in the natural language as opposed to just keyword, stuffy, robotic type of searches. And that one is called Hummingbird. And it's a little bit different than the other algorithm updates, that it does not necessarily focus on the outside businesses SEO tactics, but instead it really kind of focuses on allowing Google search engine to do its job better by really improving its searchability and being able to improve the way that it hears and I guess sees how people are searching. So an easy way of kind of putting this is if someone uses their phone, like Siri, someone uses their phone on their Android device and they want to search for, let's just say, what's the weather like tomorrow? That in itself is a phrase, as opposed to, let's say, the old school style where it was keyword based, weather San Diego. It just sounds very robotic. It just doesn't sound human-like. And to have like a personal assistant on your phone type of thing, it doesn't sound right, And so Google understands people don't really talk like that. When you're typing for something, maybe, but when you're talking like that, that's not how it is. So they've actually incorporated the Hummingbird update to be more user-friendly and more human in nature when it comes to the way people search. So instead of having keywords, it's really focused on phrases and just kind of questions and how people actually are normally searching. So they might do that for you. Maybe they need to get their eyes checked. Maybe they need to actually they have something wrong with their vision that they need to get fixed or whatnot. They're going to be talking and asking about these symptoms, and then it's going to be able to pull up your website based off of that as well. And the latest update, the latest update, which is really, it's not anything regarding content, I guess you can say, but it's more so relating to the interface of your website, the platform, the design. It's basically something that released really recent, as far as 2015, April 21st, a few weeks ago, not too bad. But they didn't really receive a name on it yet. So I know we've got Panda, Penguin, Pigeon, Pirate, all these different names, Hummingbird. but this one really is something that penalizes websites that really aren't mobile friendly. So Google's commitment to ensuring that those online users and those visitors have a user-friendly experience, whether they're searching on their desktop computer, their tablet, their phone, they don't really care. They just want to have it be a positive user experience. And so with that, what they're doing is they're going to penalize those websites that aren't mobile friendly. And what that means for you, if you don't have a mobile friendly website, or if you're not sure if you have a mobile website, is that you need to really kind of rethink your strategy, and you need to rethink, you know, what you're going to do with your website. Because what's going to happen is, and this isn't a promise or anything, it's just more so this is what they've said, that if it's not mobile friendly, that they're going to penalize the website. Now, what does that mean, penalized? That could mean that it's just going to go down a couple ranks, who knows? It could go from page 1 to page 2, who knows? When they say penalized, it could be the slightest little tap on the hand to really just knocking you off the first like 5 pages of the search results pages. So the best thing we can do is just kind of tell you, first off, to prepare you, 1, and then 2, to let you know that once it has happened, which this one has, what you can do to make sure that going forward, you're not sitting there kind of in line waiting for the big Google hammer to kind of give you the swipes. So that's kind of what this webinar is about, is making sure you guys are ready to go. And if you aren't sure, let us know. Give us a call. We can definitely give you a evaluation of your website and kind of see what you need to do in order to make sure that that doesn't happen. So the next one we're going to go ahead and talk about are some common SEO mistakes. So given that optimizing a website or web page so it ranks well on a search engine result page involves using a lot of different strategies, and there really is kind of a lot of room for error. So let's go ahead and kind of talk about some of the common mistakes that you see with SEO that practice owners make in more detail. You know, it's one of those things that a lot of practice owners kind of look at and they say, oh, you know, this should be okay, or let's kind of set it and forget it. But they don't realize that sometimes that can kind of affect you in a bad way. So according to Matt Cutts, now if anyone knows who Matt Cutts is or doesn't know who Matt Cutts is, he's the head of the search spam team at Google. So he's really kind of the authority that a lot of us here at iMatrix and other companies out there really kind of go to. He has a lot of great articles, videos online. You can even YouTube Matt Cutts and you'll see a lot of stuff he talks about. He is the next best person to talk to or to basically read about regarding these updates, because if you, besides Google just straight telling you this is what our algorithm is and this is the secret sauce on how to be #1, he is literally the next best person. He will somehow word it in a way that doesn't get Google in trouble by saying what the update's about, but he'll also kind of be like, yeah, like here you go, this is kind of what you want to do, but I'm not going to tell you what to do with it. So he kind of lets everyone know, okay, you might not want to do that. But then when you ask, well, what do I do? I can't tell you, but I'll tell you don't do that. That's really kind of how Matt Cutts is and how his language is. So from a lot of the things that we've read and a lot of the things that he's had in press releases and whatnot, he's really kind of been good at letting us know, you know what, we can't tell you what the algorithm is. We can't tell you what you have to do to be #1, but what I can do is tell you what you probably shouldn't do to be #1. And again, it goes back to saying, you know, it's better to know what not to do than to have to just be given the idea of what to do and then not know the mistakes and then just ruin it all from there. So again, it's kind of a learning curve a little bit, but if you don't have that time, definitely let us know. We are always up to date on that stuff, and we can kind of help get you up to date on that as well. Making sure your website is crawlable is also something that's very important. Making sure that it's not really limited on the user-friendly navigation side of it. That's something that a lot of people just kind of mistake when they add content to their website. They think, oh, I'm going to add a ton of content. I'm going to make sure that Google crawls my website and there's a lot of great content and just content. The problem is you can overstuff it with content. And what can happen with that is it lowers the user-friendly aspect of your website. And that's a problem, because if you don't actually have people coming to the party's not successful. And as big and awesome as the party is and the money that you've spent on it and everything, it's not going to matter if no one's there. So the same thing goes for a website. You could put all this content and images and all this great stuff on there, and it's not going to matter, because if no one can find you, then it's all pretty much for nothing. So practice owners also need to make sure that the outgoing links, broken links, 404 pages, or the page not found errors that pop up, pages with duplicate content, that's a big one. A lot of people always ask me that, you know, well, can I just put this content on another page? And, you know, if I'm talking about something similar, can I just put it on that page too? No, absolutely not. Don't do it. Duplicate content is probably one of the biggest penalties you can get, as well as it's the easiest thing to avoid. So there's a lot of things that happen in SEO that you could just easily avoid. Just don't use duplicate content. And what I mean by duplicate content is having one page say one paragraph or two paragraphs or the whole page or whatever, and you go to another page and it's got the same exact thing word for word. That is absolutely the biggest thing that will get you dinged on Google and will absolutely get you just penalized and taken out. Now, if it's a few words here and there, if it's a sentence or whatever it may be, that's not a problem. It's when it's a lot of content and it's paragraphs at a time, that's where it's considered duplicate content. Another important consideration that you probably want to think about is making sure that your website has a back-end sitemap that search engines can follow. If you're not sure what that is, that's really kind of just a .xml sheet. It's really technical, so hopefully I'm not going too far over your heads, but it's an XML data sheet. It's an Excel sheet, and really what it is it's kind of like a text version of your website. If you could take your website with all the designs and all the pages and all the content and everything that's going on in there and put it in text format, text mode, that's really kind of what this sitemap is. It's really kind of telling Google, okay, this is the roadmap. This is what the page layout looks like. This is what's on the home page, and then I have a services page, and in that services page, I've got 4 other pages, and in those 4 pages, I've got 1 page each within them. So all the subcategories, all the main categories, it's basically your whole navigation of content in text form in a .xml sheet. And what that does is that enables your account manager or your front office staff or whoever's managing your website to submit that to Google, so that if you have additional pieces of content or new pieces that you're adding to your website, that is pretty much the blueprint that you give to Google to say, hey, this is what you can actually index. And what will happen is when you do that, Google will go outside of their normal indexing schedule and they will actually index your website. Now, keep in mind, again, there's a lot of people doing the same thing that you're going to be doing in regards to sitemaps, so it'll probably be in the line in order that they receive it, but it's a lot faster than having to wait a week or 2 weeks, because sometimes when you update a website and you don't submit a sitemap, it might take a month for Google to actually index it. It's just on a normal schedule that they have. So if you want to have it move a little bit faster, that's the best way to do it. If you've had a lot of really messy links and a really bad navigation structure, or maybe after this webinar you're going to go ahead and say, you know what, we need to kind of reorganize our website and change the way that the navigation is. Sitemap's a great way to do it, because once you actually submit it, it tells Google, hey, this whole layout changed up. Go ahead and index it, and this is the new layout, and that way you guys can go ahead and start indexing it that way. So a sitemap's important. Again, we do that with a lot of our websites here, but if you're not sure what that is, definitely let us know. We can help you and point you in the right direction. And of course, like I mentioned, content's king. Now, you don't want to overstuff it with content. You want to make it in edible chunks, edible bites. But this is really true in the eyes of a search engine, because the search engine's main objective is to return those results that are informative, helpful, and really pertinent to the user's search query itself. So some of the most common content-related SEO mistakes that practices really make are providing, again, like I said, the low quality, or even, again, like I mentioned, the duplicate content. Keyword stuffing tactics, where you're just putting the same keyword over and over and over again, and optimized pages using the wrong keywords. So you don't want to have one condition or one symptom. Let's say you're talking about dry eye or something, and then on that page there's nothing but keywords about styes or whatever it may be, and it has nothing talking about dry eye. It has nothing talking about the related content. That's also something that you want to avoid. Now, it seems common sense, but again, I've seen a lot of people do that in the past, and so it's definitely on our list of things not to do. And one thing you want to make sure you don't do is overlook the importance of video and other interactive tools on the website that really engage the user and keep them on the website. So just so everyone knows, one of the facets of SEO, because there is no 1-2 punch with SEO, it's a huge tree branch of different tactics and facets that you can do to help add points to your SEO score and really kind of help to get your ranking up. And one of those is video and multimedia, as well as other engaging tools that you can use on your website. And the reason being that is because one thing that they want to see is that when someone goes to your website, that they're actually staying on the website, and that they're on different pages, and they click through your website, and they explore your website. That shows Google that your website is relevant, because if it's not relevant, you're not going to stay on it. You're probably going to click on it, see the website, and then leave. And that goes into something called a bounce rate, which I can get into later. But what you want to do is you want to make sure to not overlook video. Video is important. Video is one of those things that keeps people engaged. They stay on the website. Different tools. I know on our iMatrix websites we have something called the frame selector. We have something that you can see different frame styles and things like that so that they can kind of see what it might look like on the shape of their face and then go in and possibly buy some frames from you. There's a lot of different things that we can incorporate on the website to help engage people so that they stay on the website a lot longer. So you want to make sure that you incorporate that in there as well, and you don't want to forget the fact that keeping them on the website is an important deal. It's a big deal. So next we're going to go ahead and talk about why a mobile-friendly website is a must. Now this is kind of the key point of this whole entire webinar. This is something that is really, really important, and I'm going to be completely honest, even here at iMatrix we have to consider this again for any future corporate websites we do for ourselves, any plans that we're doing. This isn't something that we just think, oh, this is a nice topic, let's talk to our clients about this. This is something that businesses like ourselves, like us, as well as other way larger businesses have to think about as well. This is something that Google has put out there that we haven't really had a formal name on it yet, but it is something that they're considering because of the fact that people need to be on the go at all times. And if they're searching for a business, they need to be able to have that website conform to whatever device they're using so that it's available and it's ready and it's easy for them to be able to use. So if you've ever really tried to access a website that's designed for a desktop or a larger screen from a mobile device, you're going to see how frustrating it can be. So you can see from these two pictures, the one on the right is mobile responsive. The one on the left is considered, a let's say desktop version. So just to kind of give you a quick example, my monitor, I know you guys can't see it, but my monitor is about 25, 26 inches wide. Now my phone is about 5 inches, I believe, or 4 inches or something like that. So imagine how many times, if I had the same resolution from my computer screen on my phone, I'd have to stack multiple phones typically to scroll, or at least scroll that many times to get to the far right corner if I started from the left. So that's kind of what happens when someone doesn't have a mobile-friendly website. There's a lot of scrolling. They're finding a needle in a haystack, and it's very frustrating. And if it gets too frustrating for them, they're just not going to want to stay. They're going to go to another competitor. They're going to check out their website that possibly is mobile-friendly. There's certain things that you need to kind of realize that, if your website isn't mobile-friendly, or you're not sure if your website's mobile-friendly, then you need to either, like I said, give us a call, let us find out for you, and we can let you know. A majority, if not a lot of our websites are mobile-friendly and mobile-responsive. If it's an older skin that we have, you've been with us for years and you just never change your skin, it's probably, not mobile-responsive because we don't offer those skins anymore. But a lot of the newer ones that we have, especially ones going forward, are all mobile-responsive, and it's something that you're going to definitely not have to worry about on our platform. Now, if you're not on our platform, definitely consider asking that of whoever you have the platform with, because that is going to be something that is important. And if you've not been affected yet, since this update went out on the 21st of April, that is something that you might want to kind of consider. So 6 of the top features that a mobile responsive website has. Let's go ahead and kind of talk about that. Number 1, simple navigation. It's easy to browse on a small screen. Often really entails using a vertical navigation menu instead of a horizontal one. So again, as you can see in the left picture, it looks more horizontal. On the right picture, it looks like it's set a little more portrait style, a little more vertical, easier to use. Number 2, simplified content layout and other design elements that are easy to access and browse on a small screen. That is definitely true as well. You want to make sure that if they're trying to access something, maybe they're on the go, they have fingers. I always say I have fat finger syndrome. It's hard to find things and click on things. You want to make sure that it's simple content and that the layout is easy for them to browse through. Number 3, a click-to-call functionality. There we go, sorry. Click-to-call functionality that allows users to click on a phone number on the website, and it'll automatically call your practice without having to memorize the phone number and then switch to that keypad function on the phone. So this is a big, big issue. A lot of times people don't realize that, someone's on the go on their mobile phone. They don't have anything to write down your phone number with. They see your phone number on the website. What are they going to do? They're going to memorize it? That's already too much work for this person. They're not going to want to do that. So by having a click-to-call functionality, it's easy to do and it's easy to set up, and all they have to do is click on the phone number, and it will take them over to their automatically to their phone's dialing application to memorize the number, write it down somewhere. It's just not going to happen. So having a click-to-call functionality is definitely useful. Number 4 is clear, clickable call to action. These are, something that's basically saying, call today, request an appointment, new patient special, whatever it may be. That's a call to action to get them to make an action based off of what you're putting out there. So you want to make sure that it's clear, it's clickable, and they're able to read it, they're able to see it, and it's something that is going to be easily accessed on the home screen, on the front page, anywhere that's visible to them. If it's in the front banner image, that's always a great place because that's the first thing people see, and it's the biggest image. And it takes up the most real estate of your website when you first log on. Number 5, of course, is a map. You want to make sure that users can really find your practice when they're on the go. And not only that, if you have an address that's on there, you can actually have a click functionality, just like the click-to-call functionality, where they can actually click on the address, and it'll open up their map application in their phone, and then they can get directions straight from there, as opposed to memorizing the address. Because not only memorizing a phone number is hard, but try memorizing a physical address. That's even harder. And last but not least, bonus points if your map has GPS functionality. So again, like I mentioned, the click to direction functionality, I'm not sure what they call it, but the address having a click functionality on it is very important because that will allow them to click on it, take them to their map application on their phone, and then get directions from there. So content. Everyone loves content. If you aren't sure what to write on content, feel free to go ahead and let us know. We can kind of give you some topics, but the best place to start is your own services that you have. If you offer specific services, you have different symptoms and conditions that you treat, that is the best place to start. You know what you guys do. You know what your practice does. That's the first place to start. A lot of times people kind of overlook that. They don't realize, well, I'm not a writer. I don't do this. I'm a doctor. I don't do well at writing things. I'm not going to sit here and write a book out. Well, you don't really have to. Think of it this way. This is something that's actually a trick that a lot of people don't realize when they have, I guess you could say like a brain fart, they have writer's block, they don't know what to do. Get a recorder, right, a video recorder, and just record yourself as you talk about your practice, as you talk about conditions. Have someone write down some questions, and then ask you, what do I do if I have this? The way that you talk to patients and talk to clients, it comes out naturally because you have a passion for what you do and you like to talk about it. Same way I will sit here and I will talk to you guys about marketing and SEO and all this other stuff that's going on in SEM. I can sit here for days and just talk about it because it's easy for me. It's a passion I have. Same thing goes for you. Now, if I was to write something down, it might be a little longer because I'm sitting here kind of judging myself. No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, blah, 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 blah. But once you hear yourself, if you kind of record yourself or you have someone almost like a stenographer writing out or typing up kind of as you explain it, that's definitely going to help out because I guarantee you can explain it verbally 10 times easier than you can just write it down. And that's always the best place to start so you can kind of have a blueprint, kind of have some bullet points to go off of if you actually do need to write something. So remember, SEO really is something that's not only the content piece, but also making it so it's not robotic. And that's kind of where longer tail search queries come in. Conversational keyword searches are the thing, again, like I mentioned, that Hummingbird is really incorporating into their algorithm. You want to make sure that it's compelling enough, but at the same time, it's not robotic to where it just sounds very stuffy. Like that's not normally how someone would talk. And again, that's kind of what's going to help out if you guys record your voice if you're not too sure what to write. You can record your voice. You can record yourself explaining certain things, talking, to a colleague as if they're a patient. That way you can kind of just go through the rhythm of explaining certain, conditions and symptoms and services that you offer and things like that. And it's going to come out more conversational. It's going to be a lot easier for you to do it that way. So why is SEO vital to the success of your practice? Why is this? Well, SEO is a really crucial component of your practice's marketing, the communication, and really kind of the overall business strategy. So there are really a lot of reasons that this statement's true, and these are pretty much the top 5 that we're going to kind of go over. So number 1, SEO should not be your only marketing tactic, but it should serve as a key component in your overall marketing strategy, but also along with your branding, your advertising, that kind of thing. So one reason this is for this is that SEO still works. and it's not going to really disappear anytime soon. A lot of people say SEO is dead, SEO doesn't work anymore. That's not really true. Data shows that 80 to 90% of customers or clients check online reviews before making a purchase or choosing a service provider. Not only with the reviews, but they also check out the website. They make sure that the website's up to date. They make sure all the content is relevant to what they're looking for. And so SEO is really kind of heavy on that, and that's going to be really kind of one of the reasons, the number one reasons why SEO is not dead. If potential patients really search for the best optometrist, let's just say, or the best ophthalmologist in a specific city, don't you really want your practice to rank toward the top of that search result? Don't you want your practice to be pulled up as the best if they search for that? Or any other symptoms or conditions in that aspect? I mean, that's one of the things that SEO is really going to help out with. So I don't foresee it going anywhere anytime soon. Now, your competitors practice SEO. Here's number two. Your competitors really do practice SEO. If you're not going to, they're going to. If someone does search for, the best optometrist, the best ophthalmologist, whatever they're searching for in that term, you really don't want your competitor to pull up ahead of yours. Now, if you're not doing it, like I mentioned, your competitor definitely is. So that's why we want to make sure that we don't sleep on it, and that you either keep up to date with it, or at least you kind of keep on pace with everything. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be 100% on top of it all the time, but you want to make sure that you're not falling behind by just not doing anything at all. So number three, SEO offers metrics for measuring ROI. Now, by installing Google Analytics on your website, which is really easy, it's just a code snippet, we can definitely help you out with that, no problem. Reviewing that analytical data and really kind of keeping an eye on where your website pages are, how they rank, who's going to your website. Analytics is actually an amazing tool. If no one's ever actually used it, it will tell you how many visitors you've had, how many new unique visitors that haven't been to your website before you've had on the daily, by the hour, every month. I mean, it spans the space and time. I mean, it's basically one of those things that you can look at. If you've had it installed for years, you can actually look at the old data and see, as long as it was installed back then or the code was there back then, you can actually see the difference between last year to this year. You can actually even see who is searching for you via a mobile device. What type of mobile device? Is it Android? Is it Apple? Is it a Windows phone? Are they using a Mac? Are they using a Windows PC? What browser are they using? I mean, it goes in depth. If you really want to kind of see who is searching for you and what type of people are searching for you in that aspect, what city they're searching from, what county, that kind of thing. Analytics is amazing, and it's free. It's an amazing free tool that Google offers you because they want you to be the best you can. They want you and your website to perform the best it can to help your business, because their business obviously is helping to get your business found online, hence the search engine results page, hence being the #1 search engine. They want to make sure that they are being as useful and helpful to you as possible, so they want to give you the tools that you need. Number 4, SEO attracts pertinent traffic with the potential for high lead conversion rates. Now, converting those leads, you want to make sure that the traffic that comes to your website is being converted. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that the traffic that comes to your website is seeing the relevant pages of content. They're able to click on a call to action if they're interested to request an appointment. They see a piece of content or they see a page that's relevant to them. They want to click on requesting an appointment so they can get into your practice and get into your office as soon as possible. That's how you can get that conversion rate to be a lot higher. Now, you can determine how extensive a market is by how many users are searching for a particular keyword and really kind of how much competition you have for that. But again, it's one of those things where if you have a lot of practices that are around you in the area, you might want to kind of re-strategize and maybe even see what they're doing on their website so you can kind of not necessarily copy, but kind of mirror their efforts. If they're really doing great for a specific term and you aren't really doing that great, see what they're doing that you're not doing. Maybe kind of mirror it and make it into your own. That way you can see, oh, hey, they're doing, all my competitors are doing all the work for me because I'm sitting here, doing A, B, and C for testing, and they're doing X, Y, and Z, so I don't have to do that anymore because I know it's working for them, so I'm going to go that route. So there are some things you can actually learn from your competition, which can be very beneficial. And last but not least on that, number 5, SEO puts your best sales asset, your website, in the spotlight. Now, your website is your best asset because when they're not in your practice, your website really steps in line. It's the open window into your business. It's a really valuable resource that can provide information to potential and current patients 24/7. Your website never closes. Even though you aren't there, your website will be. So you want to make sure that if you were to be, Tony Stark and you had a Jarvis, that was your personal assistant, think of your website as your Jarvis, and you're not there and you're sleeping and you're out on vacation, or you're just closed, your practice isn't open, your website is CEO. Your website is next in line. It's going to be your best business partner, and you want to make sure your business partner looks the best, has the best features, and has the best content so that it can be pulled up and searched for by the best patients and the best clients, because that's essentially what you want. So you want to make sure that you keep everything in line with all these different tactics I'm kind of giving you guys, and you want to make sure that your website looks the best and is the best, because when you're not there, it never sleeps. It's open 24/7. So one thing you want to maybe think about is, I am kind of doing a little bit of SEO. I do have some content on my website. How do I maximize it? How do I increase that? What do I do to better what I'm already doing? Because maybe, hey Mike, maybe I'm doing all these tactics. Maybe I'm doing all this stuff already. Well, maybe some of these things you are doing, and maybe, you could be doing a little bit better. Maybe you don't need to do them any better because you're already, rocking at that. But maybe there's a couple other things you can do. Well, this is kind of going to be where we're going to show you what you can do. So when creating and implementing these SEO strategies, it's really crucial to keep your business's goals in mind. You really don't want to stray away from that. So maybe kind of ask yourself, do you want to improve your lead conversions? Are you trying to build brand awareness? Would you like to improve your visibility in that local market? Each of these goals really requires you to focus on maybe a different component of SEO, but by identifying your overall business goals, you're really going to create an effective and specific SEO strategy that kind of meets the needs of your practice. So, if you really want to focus on frame sales, maybe kind of focus on that and kind of redirect your attention for your content and your strategy when it comes to SEO towards that. Whatever it may be that you really want to focus on. If I was a restaurant owner, right, and I had, chicken, fish, and steak, and I really needed to sell a lot of fish, right? Let's say not a restaurant. Let's say it's a market, right? And it sounds better. So let's say I'm a market owner. I own a meat market or whatnot, and I want to sell a particular type of meat. Well, I'm going to start promoting that. I'm going to start pitching it out there. I'm going to start talking about it. I'm going to have signs and flyers, and if I have a website, I'm going to start putting content on there. Whatever your goal is, you want to keep your business's goals in mind. You don't want to try to overstretch yourself and just optimize for everything because, oh my gosh, I want to pull up for everything. No, you want to really look at what are your priorities and what are the highest revenue generators, and you want to put that foot forward so that you can concentrate on that and then kind of work your way down. So keep this in mind, when you're thinking of how to strategize your business. Think of what your personal goals are for the business first, and then work accordingly with your SEO and your content and your website. Now, you should also really be aware of how your website is currently performing, so you can kind of augment it, maybe decrease your efforts in SEO, maybe increase them in certain aspects. Again, like I said, if you're already doing some of these things and you just aren't too sure where to start, maybe kind of look at what you are doing, and are you getting any results from it? Is it any part of it effective? And for those that aren't, maybe you can kind of rethink that and kind of re-strategize it and go a little bit in that direction. Another thing is, now that you really kind of identified which components of SEO you really need to focus on, let's be a little realistic now on what you can accomplish and what you probably need help with. So it's a real big time management thing. A lot of people realize that, doing all this stuff, SEO and social media and video and, now we're doing pay-per-click and all this stuff, it's so much time. I don't have any time to do it. I'm not going to lie. These are all full-time jobs. It's a lot of work. The website itself should be considered a business in itself. So you need to kind of be realistic with some of these goals that you set. So, for instance, you need 20 new pages of content for your website to help boost traffic and your results and things like that, but you really just don't have the resources. You're not going to sit there and write all that content. The doctor's not going to write all that content. Your staff's not going to write all that content. So, let's say you need someone, like iMatrix. I'm just going to, of course, shameless plug. Let's say iMatrix is here to go ahead and do the content for you, which we can. It's one of those things where you have to sit here and think, okay, maybe I don't have time to do the content. But maybe I have time to, do some images and pictures and stuff like that and strategize the way I want the content on the website. Maybe I have time for social media, but I just don't have time for pay-per-click. it's one of those things you really kind of have to look at and consider, what do I have time to do? You don't want to overload yourself, because if you overload yourself with this SEO strategy and marketing strategy for your business, you're going to be able to do all of it, but it's going to really kind of not be as, it's going to come out kind of half worked. Like, it's not going to be the best that you can do on it. And even though you can do it in completely, it's not going to be the best work that you can put forward. And so you want to really kind of re-strategize and think, what is it that you are realistically going to have time to do? And then maybe look in other avenues to kind of help you work in that way. I'm going to be completely open and honest. So there's times where, from a marketing standpoint, as the manager, I have to consider, okay, you know, we need to do some advertising here and there. We've got a magazine we're going to be in. I'm sure people have seen us in, you know, 2020 or Vision Monday or whatever it may be. And, oh man, we have so much on our plate right now. We can't get these designs out fast enough. Well, then I have to stop and think, okay, well, maybe I should consider outsourcing some design work, you know, so that we can meet these deadlines. These are the kind of decisions that you also have to kind of be realistic and make, and wonder, you know, well, maybe I just don't have the time to do it, because I'm not going to put my full effort if I do all of them. So maybe I have to see if there is someone there that can actually do this for me. So these are a lot of things that people have questions about. These are things that we wanted to bring up in this webinar, and I wanted to make sure that everyone has some time from this webinar to be able to pull out any questions that they might have. So feel free to go ahead and type in the question box if you can, any questions that might come up regarding, you know, any of the new algorithm updates, your content strategy, what you can do if you don't have time to do content yourself, if you don't have the time to actually manage this aspect of your business, which, to be honest, don't feel bad, a lot of people don't. It's a very, very full-time job. It takes a lot of time to do. And you want to make sure you do it the right way, especially when it comes to PPC and pay-per-click. That's actually a big issue when it comes to people that don't know how to do it, because that is essentially what it is, pay per click. You're paying every time someone clicks on your ad. You're not paying for something that you do. You're really paying for something that other people are doing. So every time someone clicks on your ad, you're going to be charged for it. So you want to make sure you have people that are AdWords certified. Also, as far as the content goes, you want to make sure it's conversational, it's not robotic, and you want to make sure to have someone be able to coordinate that for you as well. So overall, kind of think about what you have to do for your website and your practice, and what you have time to do and what you don't. And if you have questions about that, let us know. We can definitely help you out. Now, what I wanted to do for you guys as well is, you know, in conclusion, let you know that David Olsonick, he's our Vision Brand Manager. He's awesome at what he does. He's a great leading authority here on eye care professionals. He actually helped open up our optometry brand and just has been running with it ever since. You might have seen him at a few of our shows. We go to pretty much every trade show possible. I actually went to one of the big ones with him in New York at Vision Expo East. It was an amazing time. Hopefully you guys were there, and if you weren't there, make sure you try to go sometime next year. If not, go to Vision West or any of the other shows that maybe we might go to kind of give us some info on what you currently have, and maybe ask some questions face-to-face, or feel free to go ahead and give us a call. He's actually willing to go ahead and talk to you guys, give you guys a strategy on your website, and see what we can do from an eye care professional standpoint. Again, that's his personal line there, his direct line, 858-888-7510. Again, his name is David Olsonick, and he's our Vision Brand Manager, and he'll definitely be able to help you out, kind of give you the right strategy. He knows exactly what you're looking for your practice. Your practice is not like every other practice. Your practice isn't going to be, you know, worrying about, let's just get tons and tons of patients in. You want to get the right patient in. You want to get the patient that's going to come in and essentially, you know, spend the big dollars and get the right things that they need, so you can help them out. And in turn, they can definitely help you out in your practice, because that's what we want to do here at iMatrix, is help you guys grow your practice to get the right patients in the door, not just any patient. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and give us a call. Give Dave a call himself. You can let him know Mike sent him or sent you, so that he'll definitely know. But go ahead and write some questions out if you have them. I'll go ahead and stay on for a couple minutes, and we'll go ahead and go through these questions if you have them. And again, if you are going to step out, thanks again for joining us in our webinar. We'll have this recorded and sent to you guys, as well as on our YouTube channel. And I'll go ahead and give some people some time to type in some questions here. Thanks.